Damon, Arizona plays Kansas tomorrow, and we got to get revenge. But there's one thing on my mind, and it's a Frank Sinatra quote. And he said, the best revenge is just a massive success.
Welcome on into the AZ Wildcats podcast, live from Studio K, presented by our friends over at Circle K. I am your host, Damon Fairall, aka Damon Dog. That's my guy, Kevin Thomas, aka Kevo Post. And the Arizona Wildcats, number 2 team in the country, taking on another fellow top 15 team in Kansas tomorrow in Tucson at the McHale Center, Arizona, Kansas. The second iteration of that back and forth this season. Arizona losing the first game. What can they do in this second matchup against Bill Self, potential number 1 overall pick, Darryn Peterson? And will Arizona be getting some of their rotation players back, Kevin, in way of Koa Peat and Dwayne Aristode, who are back at practice? Koa Peat, game time decision. Dwayne Aristode announced back at practice, I believe, yesterday for the first time, publicly announced at least. So, yeah, we got some things to get into today. We're going to talk a little bit about an Arizona football transfer that might be brought in and some draft combine stuff as well with Arizona's 3 representatives out there in Indianapolis. But Kevin, let's start things off the way that we usually do. How we doing? How we living?
Living good, living great, Damon Dog, and especially when we get to start the show on time because Erica Day is here early saying, dude, coming home for the Jayhawk revenge. Color her excited. We're happy to have Erica back in the southwest of the U.S. this time around, celebrating Arizona basketball. Becky Burke taking on another opponent tomorrow as well. Lots of Arizona news and notes. But let's go ahead and get started in football, Damon, because there's a lot going on, right? We just welcome back, Noah Wilbrecht, Bo Brock, and Johnny Venerable to Arizona as they were out in Indy for the Combine. And Arizona, I know we were talking a lot about basketball prospects, but they got some pro football prospects as well, both current and former players in that sense, as we have from Justin Spears this tweet. Well, before we get to Spears' tweet, let's look at the schedule, because we know that Smith, Stukes, and Johnson will be out there competing to be higher in this draft, and this is what the schedule looks like today. You got that vertical broad jump coming up out there at 2 to 3, 40-yard dash from 3:30 to 4, skill drills, 3-cone shuttle, all that stuff. So if you're following along on the NFL Network and you really want to see how Genesis, Trayden, and Dalton do, this is the best way to do that. But as we already know, they have gotten their measurements. They have, been graded out from their stats, and we do have updates in that regard from Justin Spears. But before we get to those, Damon, how do you feel about the NFL Combine as it relates to our Cats?
Yeah, I mean, it's that time of year. People are hyped for draft prospects in the draft season. And I was talking a little bit with our friend Justin Spears this morning on his great radio show that he does every morning, 7 to 9 a.m. Spears and Ollie, ESPN Tucson. Yeah, and of course I was not going to miss 2 spots in a row here, Kevin. I woke up, I told Justin Spears, and I said this live on air, I woke up like the Undertaker this morning. Just popped out of bed the second my alarm went off, because again, you don't make Damon not show up for ESPN Tucson twice in 2 days, Kevin. That's a fact. And when we were discussing these players, I feel that Trayden Stukes has kind of been the player on the rise here of this trio. Like, he's the guy that maybe was a little bit more off the radar from a scout perspective, and his very loud end to the season, including that insane highlight interception that he pulled off against Arizona State in the Territorial Cup, I think are, put him on the radars of a lot of NFL and pro scouts. And now you're looking at Trayden Stukes being kind of, I think, a middle round draft pick, anywhere from rounds 3 to 5 to maybe even stretching out to 6. Genesis Smith has more been a guy who, I think early in the season in particular was ranked very highly by a lot of big time draft scouts. I remember Mel Kiper having him as one of his top 10 safeties, I believe. Might have even been defensive backs at one point in the season. And it feels like maybe his market's cooled off a bit, but I still see Genesis as a similar kind of ranking to Traden as a mid-round guy, a guy who could be picked anywhere from late in day 2 to, I think maybe on more the early portions of day 3. And then you have Dalton Johnson, who I expect to be an undrafted free agent, but you never know with, measurements, with, play at the East-West Shrine Bowl that, he got some reps at. Like, maybe he gets onto the radar of a team and can, make his way into that late D3 picks, like as a 7th rounder. But I expect Dalton to maybe be more of a practice squad addition or a rookie mini camp addition to a team. Whereas those other 2 players, I think, will get drafted here. So I know that you got Genesis Smith's, his percentile rankings on his measurements, Kevin. Obviously he hasn't done the 40-yard dash, the bench press, all that stuff that you just showed us. But they did do like the height and weight measurements and whatnot. Genesis, his arm length is 90th percentile. His wingspan is 92nd percentile. His height is 93rd percentile. So, you could see there he's Genesis 6'2", 204 pounds, but very lengthy as well, which they like to see out of defensive backs because of how important hand usage is, especially at the NFL level. So it's not just all athleticism; it's so technique based. And Genesis got getting some rave reviews from some people that are just looking at the measurements and saying, this is a guy who I think has a pretty high ceiling.
Yeah, and when I asked Bo Brock, first thing I asked Bo when he came back was, what'd you hear about the Cats? You know what I mean? And he told me, like, honestly, not too much because obviously we don't have, like, the same level of star power.
It's not T-Mac.
It's not T-Mac. The buzz is not there.
It's not even Jonah,
But
obviously.
what he was able to say is that, like, from what he's heard and from what he's seen with his own 2 eyes and his own personal evaluation of seeing all these different prospects, he likes what Genesis brings to the table, and he thinks that potentially a franchise might like what he sees as well and maybe take Genesis. So I as we've known for, I feel like in my opinion, the whole season, like, Genesis Smith is the best NFL prospect of that trio right there. And like we said, we do have Justin Spears' measurements, but we also have these next-gen stat grades that Spears put out here, Damon, as well. Spears said next-gen stat grades for Arizona's trio at the Combine. Traden Stukes got a 75, which is good. So did Genesis of a 70, good. Dalton got 69, which usually is nice, but this time it's just average. Stukes listed as a safety at the Combine as well. Anything relating to that stick out to you, Damon?
No, and I do believe that this is somewhat in reference to those measurements that I'm talking about right now, like just the simple height, weight, arm length, hand size, those type of measurements. So I take it a little bit with a grain of salt because until we see how they test athletically, I think that the frame stuff is important. But like, if Dalton goes out there, not saying this is what's going to happen because I would venture to guess that he is the least athletic of the trio here. But like if Dalton goes out there and reps 25 out on bench and runs a 4.4, all of a sudden people are raising their eyebrows being like, oh, those height weight measurements are a little bit less important, I think, than like what you're doing in the 3 cone and in the shuttle and whatnot. Those are what scouts really want to see. Your change of direction, how fast you can accelerate, those type of things.
Now you do mention a 4.4 40, Damon, and Sam Alberts in the chat earlier said, did Tacario Davis or Ephesians Prysock declare for the draft? I don't know if you know about Prysock. I don't know about Prysock if he declared or not.
Yeah, he did.
Okay, Prysock did declare, but we know that Tacario Davis did declare. Our guy Juan Serrano put this out on Twitter about an hour ago saying, former Arizona DB Tacario Davis at the 40-yard dash, first attempt 4.41, and you and I were chopping it up with Bo Brock in the dinner area here at the office there, Damon, and you were pretty impressed by that number from Tacario.
Yeah, I think that is a number that's going to push him to at least being a second-round pick. You look at a 6'3", 6'4" corner who runs a 4.41. That's the type of size that is going to be intriguing to scouts everywhere. And yeah, I think his draft stock is going to skyrocket a bit here with those numbers coming in, those measurements, those testing numbers there. But at the same time, I was discussing with Bo a little bit earlier just that I think from a maybe a more mental standpoint, and not to like take any shots at anybody, but like we all know the Tacario Davis story and how that played out in 2024 for Arizona football. When Brent Brennan talks about having to kiss people's asses and make sure that they simply want to stay at Arizona rather than trying to, instill a culture and build what is a winning team in Tucson. Tacario Davis held the football program at ransom, it felt like. And it kind of took a trickle-down effect. Like, when Brennan talks about those players, I think that he is looking at a poster in his head of Tacario Davis of sorts, like, not that he was the only guy, because I think that we saw a few other guys make their way to Washington as well, but I think he's the most notable. He was the guy who was considered to be like the highest tier draft prospect that you were trying to hold on to that ended up leaving. And I really think that, that I'm a little bit worried about Tacario Davis from like, the standpoint of, and what am I getting in the guy? And not to say he's like a bad person, but like, I think that, he clearly wasn't a good teammate in 2024. I think that, the players in that locker room, if you got truth serum in them, they would admit that 100%. And so I'm doing a little bit more work on his, maybe the more mental side of the game and, his personality. If I'm a team, an NFL team talking to Tacario Davis, but certainly all the physical traits are there. No doubt about it.
Yeah, and then also, it's not just combine news, Damon. We do have some news in the realm of football recruiting. As per Pete Nakos, today it seems like Brent Brennan is hosting another visit. Is this true, Damon?
Yeah, there's another visit for Arizona football today, and his name is Victory. Kevin, sweet Victory. Yeah,
we got Blessing on the basketball team and Victory on the football team, and Courageous Warrior on the men's basketball team. Koa.
It's just the team. I was gonna say like God's team, but that's more like, that was more along the vibes when we had Ephesians Prysock and Genesis Smith and there were Bible verses.
Yeah.
I think Leviticus Sua, another one.
All we needed was a Roman.
100%. And so maybe that's a stretch too far, but we do have some great names here in the athletic department, and yeah, I mean, Victory Johnson feels like the wins just they come with, don't they? They transfer as well into the program. But yeah, not set in stone. He's not committed to Arizona or anything, but according to 24/7 Sports, according to On3, I don't know exactly who got a hold of this first, but Cal Poly edge rusher Victory Johnson is visiting Arizona on Monday. 6'4", 250-pound edge rusher who totaled 7 TFLs and 3 sacks last year, was a second-team All-Big Sky performer, and he began his career at Colorado in Deion Sanders' first season. He was at Colorado. He redshirted. He then went to Cal Poly, and now he's looking for maybe another step up here. But one thing that I think I found interesting, at least about this, Kevin, was that Arizona did not bring in an edge rusher during the transfer portal cycle. I know that me and you, when we were a little bit more in football mode, that was one area of concern that we had was what's happening, I guess, from the defensive line standpoint. Like, you bring in a Joe Salvea, and I think you expect the recruiting to be top notch. And I think Arizona probably feels that they have a lot of the players that they wanted already in that room. It wasn't like they needed to come in and, flip the room on its head, but you do lose some really good football players in that D-line room. Deshaun McKnight being one of them. Trey Smith coming back is huge, but it's always helpful to get edge rushers. There's no team that in football history has ever had enough edge rushers, and this feels like a guy who will get playing time. I know that he's coming from the Big Sky, and Cal Poly isn't exactly a big-time program, but I think anytime that you can get an all-conference performer out of a school, you expect them to at least play a role at your new university, and this would be a guy that I would be excited about bringing in. Not like it's going to be like game-changing or it's going to add a win here or there, but I think this is a rotational piece that, could help fill out this roster. And it's as far as players available right now, I don't know how much better you're going to get than a guy that finished all conference, with despite whatever level he's playing at last season.
This is kind of like a little bit of dipping into the playbook from last year's recruiting book of like, let's just get the guys that succeeded at football last year. Let's just get the guys that had good numbers and were productive and made positive plays. And doesn't really matter what level. If they're skill, we can extract more from it. That's what they're believing. And I think we saw that last year with like a Riley Wilson, for example, who comes in and, is really impactful by the time the end of the season rolls around. I think bringing in a guy like potentially Victory Johnson, I almost said Victorious. I'm thinking Victorious Miller of the Oklahoma State Cowboys basketball team. But Victory Johnson, right? I think bringing in a guy like that, like you said, would be a nice, depth piece and another body in there to potentially impact winning in the Big 12 next season. But it would be talent that needs to translate into the Big 12, which we always talk about as well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, this is a guy who was in Victory Johnson, who was considered to be a Power 5 level prospect coming in. And, we all remember Dion going to Colorado, talking about bringing his Louis luggage with him. So if you were a part of that first recruiting class that Dion kind of assembled, like, I think that there's at least a bit of, I don't think that Dion's bringing a bum with him necessarily, right? And so I think, and not to say that Colorado's been incredible, but like the emphasis in that moment was, if you're not good enough to be here, leave. And we're bringing players that are good enough to be here. So if you're thought of in that regard, at least there's some talent, untapped talent that is in that frame. And he has the size to be a college defensive end, to be a Power 5 defensive end. And so I'm a fan of this move if they can pull it off. I think this would be a good spot for Arizona football to be in.
And he has that, the Justin Timberlake, frosted tips with his hair.
No, he's kind of him. I was scrolling the Instagram earlier, Kevin. He's putting like Godfather memes at the end of his photo dumps, and like he's kind of that guy. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I love this. We're not only getting a culture fit, potentially a productive player. That's my favorite thing, and he has a sweet name. Quickly rising the ranks of my favorite players on next year's team.
I think this might be the first hashtag moved from Kevin Thomas of a guy that comes from a Big Sky school, right? Like
potentially.
Typically, Kevin's been holding the hashtag moves for the Malcolm Hartzogs and the bigger time transfers, the DJ Jordans, USC transfer, Nebraska transfer, right? Oregon transfer, Dalen Austin. But when you factor in the name, when you factor in the social media ability, Kevin, I think that we got to get a hashtag moved in this circumstance. Hopefully Arizona gets the job done and Big Joe gets him to sign the dotted line there.
I mean, yeah, I'm looking at his Instagram now. He's definitely a heavy Instagram user, it seems, and whoever makes his graphics is good at it. I mean, yeah, you know what, Victory Johnson, if you get brought on over, hashtag moved. I'll say it right now. But do we have any more football news and notes? We did talk about the upgrades coming to the stadium. We have not talked about that on the live show, but we did do an audio-only episode for our audio listeners, so tap in with that if you have not heard that already. But I think that is the football news of the day, Damon.
Yeah, we better get off now before we lose more subscribers like Ron, who is so upset. What the hell, dudes? Your title for the video is about basketball, not football. The title of the podcast is the AZ Wildcats podcast, and we discuss whatever is the biggest news and notes regarding Arizona athletics on a given daily basis. That typically is basketball. A lot of times it's football, and sometimes it's the other sports in between. But we like to try to make it an all-encompassing show, Kevin, and also we like to warm up a little bit while we let the chat get ready to go, and we're gonna round this thing out with a lot of basketball talk from here until the game tomorrow, really. I mean, we did basketball preview last night, Kansas on McHale Madness, Corey Williams and Kevin Thomas. And then we got preview pod, the rest of the show here. We'll do pregame and postgame tomorrow as well. So appreciate everybody for being here. But do not worry. We're going to be talking basketball right on the other side of our first break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. But in the meantime, please drop a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, resubscribe, Ron, if you already unsubscribed, because we're getting into basketball on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
I always have to tell my friends, Damon, that the Window Depot is more than just a window store. And yes, I talk to my friends about the Window Depot because they are a Tucson proud company. And when I say Tucson proud, they proudly make their new flooring in Tucson. And yes, that is true. You can now get your flooring, your Tucson made flooring from our friends at the Window Depot. Everything from doors, skylights, cabinets, countertops, and sinks. And of course, windows in stock and ready for pickup with our friends at the Window Depot. Contractors and homeowners alike love our friends at Window Depot, and you should too, because they're more than just a window store. Phoenix, Tucson, Marana, Chandler, there's one likely close to you right now, wherever your job site or project may be. And also a home renovation project. I know we all have those that are sitting on the back burner. So visit windowdepot.com to get started on your next project today. Stop by one of the 7 Window Depots around Arizona to get started on that home renovation project and get exactly what you need.
Are you looking for some gear to make your brand stand apart from the crowd, Kevin? Because, of course, there's only one place to go to when you need some custom headwear and apparel, and it is, of course, our friends over at Branded Bills. I'm rocking Branded Bills damn near every single day on this podcast, and it's not only because they're the most stylish hats in the game, but also they are the most comfortable. It feels like I'm not even wearing a hat right now, Kevin. It's just truly like the best material, lightest material, the most, sweat wicking material, you name it. Branded Bills is using the top quality products when they're making their hats. Truckers, snapbacks, fitteds, beanies, and even t-shirts. Branded Bills has you covered with performance and style. And of course, they have you covered with the ultimate Arizona Wildcat headgear collection in the game. 40 partnerships with universities, including all of the ones here in state, as a part of their campus collection, but we love their Arizona Wildcats hats. I'm rocking a white one right now. Of course, we had the Galaxy Slam hats that were given to us by one of our great listeners, Sheila Chavez. Shout out Sheila. But Sheila knows hats. She got us some Branded Bills hats, and Kevin and I absolutely love those Galaxy Slam hats. They're always coming out with brand new logos, alternate logos, you name it, for the University of Arizona. You got to be on the lookout for it on their website over at brandedbills.com and use promo code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order. Again, that's over at brandedbills.com, promo code BBPHNX for 15% off.
Welcome on back to the AZ Wildcats podcast, where we are no longer talking football. It is officially basketball time. And if you're already unsubscribed, I have one thing to say to you. Did you just raise your voice at me? There are multiple cameras on this podcast. Or is that what we're doing? I joke, I kid. I really just wanted to use the Mick Cronin screenshot one more time. We do have a super chat from AZ Brick 22 who says, "We appreciate y'all AZ news and content. Y'all are the best. Ron having a rough day, maybe. Looking to get a BB hat today. BTFD." Shout out to Brandon Bill. Shout out to you, AZ Brick. Thank you for your super chat. And shout out to you, Ron, for tuning in, clicking the stream. We're giving you some jokes, but unsubscribing over football updates is psychotic.
We are horsing around, Ron. This is we like to have fun with our chat here on this podcast. But appreciate you, AZ Brick, and of course, if you're getting that Brandon Bills hat, you got to use promo code BBPHNX if you haven't done so already, and get yourself just a nice little 15% off the top. Might cover your shipping costs, you name it. It's just a great deal. So yeah,
use that super chat.
Use that if you haven't done so already. Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. Super chat us the difference of whatever you're spending on and saving on your Branded Bills hat.
Your Circle K gas.
Yeah, absolutely. Works exactly like that. And appreciate everybody for watching, especially Ron. But yeah, let's get into some basketball here as we got another top 15 matchup on the horizon tomorrow in Tucson. I will be there, boots on the ground, Kevin.
Let's go.
Holding it down. Getting to see my first Arizona Wildcats magic of the offseason, because I was supposed to join you and Saul Bookman and Corey Williams in Phoenix at the Hall of Fame Series game against San Diego State, but I had a wedding to attend to. Of course, you got to go to the college game day game against Texas Tech, which didn't end the way we wanted it to, but was an electric environment to be a part of out there. And hopefully I can change the fortune a bit, and we can get that W against Kansas tomorrow. But yeah, it's a big matchup. It's a team that's already beaten Arizona, so you have to take them very, very seriously. And one of the two teams that's beaten Arizona this season. Just kind of broad, overarching thoughts on the game, Kevin. You think Arizona will treat this one a little bit differently because of the loss to Kansas last time around? Do you think that the Wildcats have enough to get it done at home in this one, maybe getting some reinforcements back?
I think they'll treat it differently, but not in like maybe the sense that you might think when you say treat it differently. I think they're going to come in with like a level of focus, knowing that this is a team that we want to get some get back against. We want to prove something, that we're officially better than this team and we can beat them on our own home court. I don't think they're going to come in with like a vastly different game plan. I don't think they're going to come in trying to do too much. Like it's not going to be that kind of game for them, in my opinion. But like I said, I do think they come out with a renewed level of focus for the full 40 in this one against KU, because we talked about it last time, right? Like Darryn Peterson not playing in this one, not playing the last one, likely to play in this one. You got to lock in. That man could drop 30 tomorrow, right? And I feel like that is a big deal. I know that some people, there's a big narrative right now about, we'll get into this here in a second, but like whether Darryn Peterson makes Kansas worse or makes Kansas better. I have a really hard time believing that not having a top 3 pick on your team that isn't like a Ben Simmons type of guy makes you worse. Like I don't think that is the truth, right? Melvin Council pretty much took all of Darryn Peterson's shots last game and went 5 for 26. I have a hunch Darryn Peterson's going to take some of those shots and maybe make some of those shots in Tucson tomorrow. But before we get to that, Damon, you mentioned like the top 15 matchup of it all and like kind of how I see this game in the broad sense. I see this game in the broad sense as like I tweeted it this morning, an appetizer, an amuse-bouche, if you will, because we
what?
an amuse-bouche.
What does that mean?
I think it's like an amuse the mouth, like something to occupy your space before you eat your dinner.
You're so classy, Kevin.
It's a French term.
You got to class up this podcast a little bit because we know that there's no class in this seat over here.
It's insane, dude. That's an insane statement. I mean, you should. I don't know. Damon's a pretty classy guy.
Can I eat it with my hands?
Yeah, it's kind of finger food.
Okay.
It's an appetizer for March Madness is what I'm trying to say, because tonight you have Miami looking to go 29-0 in this one, 21 ranked Miami, but then you have that banger heavyweight fight between number 3 Michigan and number 10 Illinois tonight. But that is just an appetizer for Saturday, where Arizona kicks it off versus Kansas at 2 p.m. You got Virginia versus Duke. You got Louisville, Clemson, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Texas Tech, Iowa State. BYU, West Virginia is a little bit less interesting. Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, Arkansas, Florida. Gonzaga, St. Mary's. March is here. And I'm pumped about it. We got like less than a week before March is officially upon us. And I think that this game between Arizona and Kansas is going to be one of those games that hopefully people are looking on the TV is like, oh my God, March is here. And all eyes are on Arizona and Kansas. It's going to be beautiful. But yeah, Damon, you mentioned it. This is a big-time matchup, and I think when you're talking about getting revenge, I led off the show with the quote by Frank Sinatra, like, getting revenge is winning the game, right? There's no, like, we don't got to whoop them. We don't got to beat them by 20. We don't got to do a Michigan and, beat a team that you've already, had beaten and just keep your starters in and win by 40 to get KenPom numbers up. Like, you don't got to do that. You just got to succeed in this game and win it, and that is the penultimate revenge in a way. And then, obviously, postseason, barring different results later. We'll see how it goes. But Arizona versus Kansas tomorrow, marquee matchup. Interested to see if Koa Peat goes, if Koa Peat doesn't go. I do think that is impactful in this. I think Arizona has shown that while they can win without Koa Peat, in the back of my head this whole time, I'm like, how many times can you go to that well and come out unscathed? You nearly got caught by Baylor. Houston, that was an incredible performance. I don't want to bank on that being something they can do multiple times, right? But if they can do it without Koa Peat against Houston, Kansas, BYU, Baylor, unbelievable. I mean, we already think they're the best team in the country, but like this is an unbelievable run if they do that without Koa Peat. I don't care if it's on the road or at home. I think that even if Koa Peat plays, I think Arizona can win, but that is a big variable for me in this one.
Yeah, I think it's less about like you need that upper echelon guy like Koa Peat to kind of help put Arizona over the top. Arizona has the caliber of players to get the job done even without Koa Peat, but it's more about this short rotation. And it feels like these guys are kind of giving everything right now to be playing in these games. Like Braden Burries plays 39 minutes in the last game, and that's after having the suds, as you said, Kevin. So that dude is playing and giving everything that he's got. Jaden Bradley, we know that that's a guy that plays 35 plus minutes of every game. Like when the rotation shortens up like this, I think, Krivas is an example of that. Like that's a guy that he's carrying so much weight and height with him that I'm sure he gasses a little bit easier than your prototypical basketball player. And he's typically more used to like a 23-minute, 24-minute share of the 40 minutes. And he's having to uptick that. And so that probably affects him later in these games. I think getting Koa and to a lesser extent Aristode back is going to work wonders just in getting the rest of the rotation back to the level of playing time that they were used to and just keeping people a little bit more fresh instead of having to deal with tired bodies at the end of games and having to dig as deep as you've had to. So I agree. Like I think that Koa is going to play a huge role in whether or not he's ready to go. He was a game time decision against Baylor. So I think that, you would assume that he's more ready to go than he was on Tuesday night, right? So you get 5 days rest in between. That he was a game time decision, he might be able to go on Saturday. But I think that they're going to make him questionable make it a game time decision. And we will find out whether or not he's going to play or not. But yeah, it's certainly going to play a big impact on how this game plays out. Darryn Peterson back for Kansas. You already mentioned it. And, kind of how Melvin Council had to take a lot of that usage and be the guy for Kansas in that moment. But I also think that, Kevin, there's an element of, I guess, like, you almost have a crutch to stand on if you're Kansas and you don't have Darryn Peterson. And it's knowing that your playing time is not going to be cut into. You're going to get more shots on that night, and it's not, say you're a Jamari McDowell, a guy who came in for Darryn Peterson, and in that first half, like, yeah, Melvin Council went off in the second half, and let's be honest, he got a lot of free throws to help kind of supplement that game for him. He shot, I believe, 10 of 11 from the free throw line, which for a point guard in college basketball, getting 11 free throw attempts is borderline insane, I will argue. But like when you're remembering that game, it was Bryson Tiller and Jamari McDowell in the first half that were stepping up in lieu of Darryn Peterson and keeping Kansas in that game, because Arizona did have a lead, a sustained lead that they held on to for majority of the game until it was too late, right? And so I think that it helps the guys like Tiller and McDowell have more confidence with Darryn Peterson off the court, in just that they know that their shot attempts are not going to be eaten into him that night. Oh, I missed one. It's not that big of a deal because I'm going to shoot 5 more. Whereas when Peterson's playing, you only get, if you're McDowell, 3 shots a game, and you got to make the most of them, or else you're riding pine. Bill Self's calling you out. I think there's a mental aspect of like, Darryn Peterson's out. I'm getting more run tonight, and I'm more confident because of that, especially at home, versus, going on the road. Now you have the full rotation, and yeah, Darryn Peterson probably makes more shots than Melvin Council did in that game if he takes the same amount. But I think that almost factors out how that first half went and takes out the contextualization of the game of like, the guys that needed to step up when Darryn Peterson went out stepped up in about as good of a way as they possibly could have asked for them. It was a picture perfect scenario for Kansas in that first half, the way that they kind of held on and stuck with Arizona. So yeah, I think it's, Darryn Peterson being back, obviously it's going to help Kansas. You always want a guy who's that good back, but I think it does take a bit away from maybe like the expectations that the role players can have going into the game. And does that then make them a lot worse? Because as I was saying during that entire game, you can't just add Darryn Peterson's averages in and say, well, Kansas would have blown out Arizona by 20 if Darryn Peterson played. Like, it just doesn't work like that. They call that
the Terrace Reed effect.
Yes, of course.
Where, as we all know, if Terrace Reed had played against Arizona, not only would Arizona have lost, but they never would have won a game at all to the rest of the season again.
Well, UConn assuredly would have out-rebounded Arizona, even though they lost the rebounding margin by 20.
Well, yes, superhuman Terrace Reed. You know how it goes. But, yeah, to your point, like, this conversation about, like, is Kansas better or worse when Darryn Peterson plays, I think is extremely silly. Mostly because I think it's a slightly different team for sure. And I understand that the ball can kind of stick with him at times as well, but too much is made about like his assist to turnover ratio.
Mm-hmm.
Was it like the last game or before? But he passed the ball to Trey White, and Trey White just like smoked a layup, right? Okay, so now we're talking 2 assists in that game instead of 1, right? Okay, now he passed it out to an open corner 3. You missed that, talking 3 assists instead of 1. Right? And these are real things that are happening to Darryn Peterson, right? I'm not trying to say that he's playing with bums, but I'm saying that sometimes
I'll push back on that a little bit, though, Kevin, because guys that have high assist totals, that happens to them, too.
I agree. But what I'm saying is people get caught up. People on social media right now are getting caught up on he averages more turnovers than assists. And he averages 1.7 turnovers and 1.4 assists. Like, it's not like he wasn't passing the ball at prolific prep either. Like, this is a guy who cannot get into the paint as heavily as he did in high school. It seemingly is due to an injury. We don't know, right? But it feels certainly that way, and it looks certainly that way. And I have trouble thinking that he would not be able to create open looks for his teammates by creating rim pressure with his insane athleticism that he seemingly has been zapped of. And I think if you're coming into a season and you're running sets for Darryn Peterson, the normal version, the allegedly healthy version of Darryn Peterson, I think it's going to look different than the zapped version of Darryn Peterson. If you're running those same sets, maybe the ball does end up sticking. And I don't know. I might not be right about that, but I do think that are they better or worse without Darryn Peterson thing? They're just different. And I don't think it's necessarily better or worse. They can beat the best teams with him. They can beat the best teams without him. Kansas is just really, really freaking good. And when you add the top 3 pick to it, I don't think it's any math you can do that makes it worse, in my opinion.
Yeah. They're different. They're certainly different. I think it's a little bit more of like they need a conglomeration of guys hitting shots if Darryn Peterson's not going to be there. Whereas we know Darryn Peterson's the type of player where he can drop 30, right? And so then what his teammates, what he needs out of his teammates to get wins is just a lot less than, if he's playing out there. But I do feel like the ball might flow a little bit better without Darryn Peterson out there.
It does.
And it's just, there's more mouths to feed, certainly, but it feels like it's just a little bit more of team basketball. And I'm not going to lie, Kevin, like Darryn Peterson's fantastic. I've said, I think that he's the most talented player in this year's draft. And I do think that there is an aspect of, yes, his ability and slash inability to drive to the basket right now, whether that's injury related entirely, or maybe that's just not really what his game is going to turn into, even as he gets to the NBA, because the athleticism level is just different. But it does feel like maybe that's impacting his ability to kind of dish out on those drives, which will impact your assist numbers. But those assist numbers are pretty putrid for a guy who has the ball in his hands as much as Darryn Peterson, for a guy that is a guard, an NBA caliber guard. Like when I first heard his assist average, which was really not that long ago, I'll be honest, probably 3-4 weeks ago at this point, I was shocked. I had no idea he was averaging under 2 assists per game. That's pretty poor. And I think it does go to show that, yeah, they play a lot different style of basketball when he's out there versus when he's not.
Yes. I also think that a lot of his shots, in my opinion, like when he's doing catch and shoot stuff, like his job is to catch and shoot. His job is not. They do play him like
a scorer.
They do play him like a shooting guard, right? Mm-hmm. I know the joke is like it's not a passing guard, it's the shooting guard, right? But like that is like he is a true. We talk about true point guards. Darryn Peterson is a true shooting guard. It's not like a combo guard situation. This is a pure prolific scorer, and I'm not saying that he should have a 1.4 assist, a number tally, whatever you want to call it, but it doesn't concern me as much as it seems to concern other people. But if we're talking about the context of Kansas as a team, it is a little concerning. But I think if you can have Melvin Counsell, if you can find a way to have that balance, like if you're Bill Self, if you can find a way to have Melvin Counsell move the ball, have Darryn Peterson moving off the ball, and just have as potent of an offense with him as you do without him, I think it's huge. But whether or not that's something that's going to happen by the time the end of the season comes, I don't know. But let's talk about Kansas as a team, their strengths, their weaknesses, and a whole lot more after our second and final break here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Leave a like, drink your water, stick around, don't go anywhere. If you're looking for the Vegas vibes, I know our guy Ayrton is taking a little bit of a trip this weekend. He has a 3-day weekend. I told him, why take a trip when you could have a staycation at Gila River Resorts and Casinos during their Vegas residency from January to April 2026. This year, they bring the Vegas. I'm talking exclusive concerts, extended DJ sets, showgirls, chef-driven dining, pop-up bars, and even surprise cameos. You don't know who's going to pop out at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, because this is truly a place where you do you. They have thousands of slots and live table games, one of the largest sports books I've ever seen in my life. I love watching some UFC at the Gila River Wild Horse Pass Sportsbook in particular. They bring the Vegas only at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for the full calendar of events.
Visit playatgila.com, and of course, visit one of the many venues, of course, that sell Arizona lottery scratchers. There are kiosks lined up all throughout this great state. Of course, we know that Circle K has some of the best Arizona lottery kiosks that you can find here. And that's always a good one-stop shop for some Arizona lottery tickets over at Circle K. But the multiplier scratchers are taking over the game right now, Kevin. It's the perfect way to add to your life. Some of multiplying the good things like vacation, relaxation, celebration. I know if I hit one of these multiplier scratchers, I'd probably pay off the truck that I just drove back from Vegas. I might even have a little bit left over for a quick little getaway for myself, maybe after the college basketball season is done and dusted. But with over $270 million in prizes, you could be the one to win big and enough to do more of the things that you love. Multiplier tickets start at just $1 and have prizes of up to $5 million. Kevin, what would you do if you had $5 million in your pocket right now?
Ooh, house, car, diamond grills.
Buy
sure.
PHNX Sports. Add that one in on top of it. Of course, guys, with access to over 3,500 retailers across the state, you can play whenever and wherever you like. Check out our friends at Arizona Lottery today and play and win with Arizona Lottery.
Damon and I, almost missed the ending of the pre-recorded ad because we started a ball debate. Not a debate, but a ball discussion during. And I'll pose the question to you, chat, because I kind of want to do some research into Darryn Peterson's assist number and just how bad or not bad it might be. Can everybody drop maybe the most skilled or best shooting guard at the college level that you can remember? And I want to go back through the annals of history and see where this 1.4 number falls, because as we pull up Darryn Peterson's season stats, as you can see, 1.4 assists per game, 19.5 points in just 27.4 minutes. That is insane potency. 3.8 rebounds. The 3-point number is nuts. 40% from three as well. And I want to go back and see where this 1.4 number falls, because I did one quick search of James Harden, a guy who we know does not facilitate very well, but we know can isolate and score. He averaged 3.5 assists in college. And I'm like,
James Harden's a pretty damn good facilitator, brother.
That's true.
8 assists per game.
You know what? Actually,
in his career,
that was a fraudulent take that I said right there.
That was the most Kevin Thomas doesn't know ball thing I think I've ever heard out of you.
It was, but I think more so what I was getting at is that he's not
You're
known
a ball knower,
for
brother.
his
Full
correct.
stop.
He's not known at that time. He's known for isolation scoring. You know what I mean? He was not necessarily the James Harden that we know now back then, in my opinion. Maybe he was. Maybe I gotta go back and watch the ASU highlights and remember things. But 3.4 assists, I think, is what he had at ASU. And I was like, oh, it's a little bit higher than I would have thought of. But either way, I do want to go back and see where Darryn Peterson's assist numbers fall in history. So drop some shooting guards in the chat.
Dwayne Wade, baby.
Dwayne Wade, Wade County. I
was looking at, I did quick research, Kevin, on top shooting guards in college basketball history. I know that you said you wanted some more modern players, but I told you off air, Pete Maravich was first guess. Yeah. A lot of people have him as number one.
Bang.
Oscar Robertson is up there as well, which is interesting because I swear he's a point guard, but maybe that's just what his NBA declaration of position is. And in college, he was more of a shooting guard. Seeing some people say, what about MJ? Ever heard of him? JJ Redick, Salim Stoudemire.
Ever heard of Michael Jordan?
JJ Redick, Salim Stoudemire. Just some guys like that. Some really, really solid players. But Kevin, in doing so, I actually clicked on a list from the preseason that I just want to read out to you real quick. We don't have to spend too much time on it. But this is an audible.
What's the list?
Ranking the 15 best shooting guards in men's college basketball for 2025.
So this upcoming season or last season?
This is before the season. This is as of October 7th, 2025. From our friends over at Sports Illustrated. This is their version of the top 15 shooting guards in college basketball. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Jason Edwards, Providence. Rodney Rice, USC. Chase Ross, Marquette. They're really good this year. They have 4 wins. Luka Bogovic, North Carolina, the guy who was supposed to be an unbelievable.
He was supposed to be better than Ivan, I heard.
Yeah, no, it was Ivan. It was Ivan or Bogovic. And people were like, give me Bogovic, man. This guy's nuts. Does nothing. Isaiah Evans, Duke. Number 10. Top 10 shooting guard going into the season, Kevin. Xavier Lee. Josh Dix, Creighton, number 9. Wesley Yates, Washington, number 8. Kylan Boswell, Illinois, number 7. Ryan Conwell, Louisville, number 6. John Blackwell, Wisconsin, number 5. Solo Ball, UConn, number 4. Number 3, Emmanuel Sharp, Houston. Number 2, Richie Saunders, BYU. And number 1, Otega Owe, Kentucky.
Whoa.
What a brutal list that has become. Is Braden Burries better than every player that I just named? I think he is.
Yeah. I would
I think he's genuinely better than every single player I just named, all 15 of those.
I think so. I think there's maybe a couple you could even make an argument for, but in general, I think he's definitely better than those guys for sure. What a stinker.
It's not a great list. It's not a great list, and I think obviously Houston plays kind of a double point guard system, but I feel like whatever guard you consider the shooting guard out of those two and Braden Burries are easily better than whatever lists I just named out right now. But whatever.
Yeah. No,
No
definitely.
Darryn Peterson too. I mean, he must have been considered a point guard.
Yeah, probably. Or like some weird combo guard situation that they didn't want to count. I don't know.
It's probably Darryn Peterson, Braden Burries.
Yeah. Indeed. And then also Keaton Vogler up there as well.
Yeah, Vogler's nuts. But isn't he the point guard in the situation of Illinois, and that's why they had Boswell as the shooting guard?
Yeah, that's true. That is fair.
But
then when
you
Boswell
could flip
went
those
down,
guys
yeah,
hypothetically if you wanted to.
Yeah, you could. Same thing with Xavier Lee and Boogie Flam. They're kind of like both point guards in a way. Florida saw Xavier Lee drop 20 on Dartmouth and gave him a blank check.
Let's check in on our guy.
I just did. He's shooting like 27% from 3, 40 from the field.
He's up to 40 from the field. Congratulations, Xavier Lee.
27,
hell of a season, brother.
27.8 from 3 on a lot of
Disaster.
attempts. 80 from the line, though. He's averaging 4 assists, 3.5 rebounds, 1.1 steals. That's about it, really.
Dude, he's playing some pretty decent ball recently, Kevin.
He
You
is.
look at his recent game log, 10 against A&M, 18 against Georgia, 22 against Kentucky, 9 against South Carolina in a game they didn't really need him, 11 against Ole Miss, and 12 against Texas. Like, he's picking it up a little bit.
Florida's figuring it out, man.
Yeah,
Florida's
Florida
really
looks good. They do look good. But
Yeah.
feed me Xavier Lee in the tournament if that's what it takes, because we'll bully him again.
What did he do against Arizona? 14 points on 5 of 17, 3 from 11 from the 3, and those threes,
17.
those threes like all came in the first portion of the game when Braden Burries didn't even know what college defense looked like yet. You know what I mean? But yeah, nevertheless, we do have an actual opponent coming up tomorrow, and Damon and I are in here cooking as it is hot in Phoenix these days. 91 outside.
And no AC, because
No
why
AC.
would you need air conditioning in Phoenix, Arizona?
No, it's the winter time, Damon. Don't you know? It's February. It's snowing in some places. Let's talk about strengths and weaknesses for Kansas. Let's go with the strengths. Positive first. Glass half full. Team strengths. Front court impact. That Flory Bidunga guy with the blood on his jersey over there, absolute demon on the defensive end. Him, Matthias Krivas, a ton of guys in that Defensive Player of the Year conversation. And Flory Bidunga, as we saw last time out against Kansas, is a highly impactful, athletic big who can make you pay in the pick and roll specifically. And if you're like not Henry Vasar, if you're like Mo Krivas, right, you might get dunked on if you're a little bit slow getting back to the rim. So I think front court impact between him, Bryson Tiller. We saw Bryson Tiller come out and start hot against Arizona last time out. We cannot underplay the 6'11" guy who can shoot it as well. So I think their front court impact is huge here. We know their team defense is really strong. And the scoring burst. When you have Darryn Peterson in this game, you have Melvin Council in this game, you have Trey White in this game, Kansas has a high potency starting 5. If they are hitting on cylinders, they could easily go on like a kill shot type of run. Now, Arizona's defense is that of a defense that does not necessarily allow any kill. Have they allowed a kill shot yet this year?
I think one.
Wow.
I think one. I think that was in Nate's game notes from last week, but I'll go ahead and Nate Weichers, of course, who is the great SID for Arizona men's basketball, but I'll check that out for us, Kevin.
But yeah, either way, like that is the type of offense that could certainly put a kill shot on your head if you're not focused on the defensive end.
I found it. Arizona, a run of 10-0 or greater. Arizona has 29 and has allowed just one.
Wow.
Tied with Utah Valley for the fewest allowed in the country, according to Evan Mia.
Wow. Shout out to Utah Valley, man. But yeah, I think that Kansas is a team where if you're not locked in defensively, they can put a kill shot on you between Darryn Peterson, Trey White, Melvin Council. The 3-point shooting ability, they have great scoring burst. And I'll also say they got a lot of whistles in Kansas. W, a.k.a. Dat MFer in the chat, says they're not getting that whistle in McHale. And I do agree. We talked about that last night on McHale Madness, right? One thing that Corey said was not going to happen in this Kansas game was Krivas getting hacked and not getting calls, right? I mean, he was getting beat up in that Kansas game. He gets beat up a lot, to be fair. But specifically in that Kansas game, it felt like he should have gotten to the line. Did he go to the line at all in that game? I think that was the game where he didn't go to the line at all, and it felt like a travesty that he did not go to the line. But either way, he did not go to the line as much as he deserved to, and I think in this one it's going to be to make sure that you get to the line. Team weaknesses, bench production. They are one of the worst in the country in terms of pure bench points per game. They are 349th in bench points per game with just 12, forcing turnovers. This team averages 5.3 steals per game, which is 316th. And their opponents average just 9.4 turnovers, which is 344th in the country. They also do not create a lot of fouls, which I know sounds crazy because of the whistle that occurred last time out there in Kansas, but they really don't create a lot of fouls. It's not like an AJ Dybantsa offense over there. You know what I mean? But I think that's kind of how I'm looking at Kansas this next time around. I think not being in Kansas, not being in that Fog Island environment is definitely going to help Arizona in this game.
I think the bench production is so massive in particular because of what we already talked about on this podcast. But like the guys that were needing to step up with Darryn Peterson out did so in such a big way in that first matchup that I think that was how Kansas needed to win the game. And now with Darryn Peterson, like those guys become a little bit less impactful, like their role on the game, but they're still going to need some 3-point production, I think, in particular from guys that are maybe more peripheral role players. And are they going to get that same level of production, I think is the big question. Personally, I don't think so. Like I think it's hard to replicate that twice in a row. Arizona probably wins that game, I don't know, 70 out of 100 times if they play it. But, I think Kansas had everything breaking right for them in the way that first matchup went. And so I do think that the bench production is going to be huge. If they can get some of their role players, some of their guys that are maybe not, the big dogs on the team, the Bidungas, the Councils, the Petersons to show up and, kind of carry for portions of this game or, hit a couple threes in quick succession, I think that could be absolutely massive in terms of making this one a game. But also to answer your question from earlier, Krivas did attempt 0 free throws against Kansas, and he took 13 shot attempts.
And how many of those were blocked or were fumbled out of bounds? And it's like, oh, I wonder if he got slapped on the arm there.
And he had 15 rebounds.
Man.
And he had 0 free throws. That's crazy.
This is my salute to you, Mo Krivas. I was once one of your haters. I am now one of your biggest believers. You're a dog, my friend. And the fact that he went to Tommy Lloyd earlier this year and Tommy was like, hey, man, like, are you feeling okay? Like, I know you're getting beat up out there and we got to get better at this and that. And he goes, no, coach, like, none of that. I just got to be tougher. And I was like, all right, you got a fan in me. I'm convinced. I'm sold. That's a different mindset than I thought you had. And now we can continue with a different view. But I want to address Frank K3's comment there in the chat that says team weakness playing away games. Now, I've given Iowa State, Damon, this year a lot of grief for their, in my opinion, inability to win away from Hilton Coliseum, although they do have a win at Purdue. Kansas is kind of in that same boat. When you look at their resume, first road game of the year, lost to North Carolina, got dominated in part by Caleb Wilson. Second road game of the year, you win, but it's at NC State and it took you to OT. Third away game of the year took you to UCF where you lost. Next road game, West Virginia, you lost. Next 2 road games, Colorado and Kansas State, you win. Texas Tech, you win. That's a notable win on the road for sure. Texas Tech is notable. But other than that, Iowa State, you lost. Oklahoma State, you won, but it's Oklahoma State. Cincinnati, at home, you lose. And so I feel like, to Frank's point, this team is actually a lot weaker on the road than I maybe would have given them credit for, Damon.
Yeah, I think that's obvious, honestly. Like they're that's the best home court advantage in the country. It does feel like they get a crazy whistle when it's at Kansas. And it's understandable. It's human nature. You get impacted by the crowd and, the raucous environment. But yeah, I definitely think that, them being on the road is kind of the biggest differentiator here. I mean, KenPom has Arizona winning by 10, and that's against a borderline elite Kansas team. So I think that almost alone goes to show like the importance of away versus road. But yeah, this is certainly a team that performs better when they're in Lawrence versus when they're on the road. And I think that is truly the number one difference between last game and this game. I think if you played last game the exact same way, and obviously Arizona is more at full strength in that game, and Kansas, doesn't have their best player. But I think if that game is played neutral site, Arizona wins, no question in my mind. It's played at McHale, it's probably a blowout. But the fact that it was played at Kansas was that perfect culmination of events that made it where Kansas was able to get the job done. And so yeah, I think that being that they have to travel on the road now, that's going to be a huge change for them in terms of the way that they look versus an elite team like Arizona at home versus on the road.
We have a lot more preview for Arizona versus Kansas, but you're going to have to wait until tomorrow's pregame show. Now, Damon's going to be live in Tucson. It's going to be a beautiful scene for the postgame, so hopefully we can bring home a dub for our guy Damon Dog's homecoming. But yeah, for more notes, tap in with our pregame because it's hot. We're going to get out of here today and watch the Combine. Tap in with our Wildcats in the Combine. Tap in with Becky Burke's team tomorrow as well. And I want to give a special shout-out, a very, very special shout-out, Damon, because we do have a new record that has been broken, a program record in swim and dive. Duncan Henderson with the program record and then 100 back with 44.79. So ending the episode with history, and now we can get out of here.
Yeah, I think, Arizona, I believe women's swim and dive was ranked second in the Big 12 and the men's was ranked third. So two pretty solid rankings, all given. Arizona is coming from the Pac-12, which is like the pinnacle of swimming, which is not, I don't think, shocking to anybody. You have the California schools, that makes sense. But, you go into your new conference and you're one of the best, and you love to see that, absolutely. Spread is 8.5, according to Frank. We're covering that, going to smack them by double digits. Book it. I love it. I might be hitting up our friends at Bet365, getting in on that, although I should probably stay away because I have been pretty cold on college basketball recently. So maybe I'll stay away for the betterment of our Arizona Wildcats community. And also to answer Frank's question from earlier, we don't know where Jacob B. Cards is. We haven't seen him in weeks. Kevin and I have been calling out. We've been saying, where is our favorite Houston fan in the chat? Guy doesn't actually like Houston. Apparently, he doesn't even like ASU. He's just a troll for the love of being a troll. He hates the Arizona Wildcats because, I don't know, he lives in the Valley. We're still workshopping that one. It didn't really make a whole lot of sense why he had so much hate in his heart for Arizona. But yeah, it's weird. He has been nowhere to be found since Arizona beat Houston. Funny how that works out.
Yeah, no, indeed. I don't know where Jacob B. Cards is at, but I know Jacob B. sad because we whooped on Houston in his own damn house.
Yeah, that's the thing about a troll like that, though, is that he's just going to pretend like it didn't even happen. He has no clue.
Correct.
Yeah, he doesn't. He probably didn't even watch the game.
Oh,
He doesn't care about Houston.
Oh, they played? Oh, I didn't know that. Whoops. I guess I'll have to go back and watch the tape.
Love watching tape. We're a couple of tape guys here on
Trolls,
this podcast.
Big tape guys, I hear. Trolls are huge tape guys.
Yeah, no doubt.
Buzzer beater. Oh, my God.
AZ Catch G, quintessential buzzer beater. Classic. Turn back the clock. What the hell, dudes? I thought the title was about basketball, not swim and dive. I am never unsubscribing. You guys are awesome. Appreciate you, AZ Catch G, with a killer super chat. A little callback to earlier with our guy, Ron. Maybe, Ron, if you're still here, let us know. Did you finish out the show or did you truly unsubscribe?
I will say, for Ron, thirsting for basketball talk and then no comments during the basketball talk. Let's get some takes off, man. Let's have a conversation. But shout out to you, AZ Catch G, for your $5 super chat. AZ Brick saying that Jacob B. Cards was off the grid, no internet, just happened to be in the woods during that game against Arizona. But yeah, definitely a great episode and a great troll job by Jacob B. Cards until he no-showed after his team got whooped. No-showed.
Likes are a little light on this one, guys. Let's please run it up here before we get on out of here on a Friday, and then we'll be back on a Saturday for pregame and postgame coverage of Arizona versus Kansas. Cannot wait for it. Please like this video. Like I said, 15 likes. We need more. We absolutely need more. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and then we will be back tomorrow. So be glued to this channel. Turn those notifications on. Become a diehard if you haven't done so already. We got a diehard combine sale going live right now. $36. You can become a diehard. It is our cheapest price that we offer throughout the year. It's about half off, and it is the best time to become a diehard. You get that free t-shirt. You can get a Red Line Turnover Sword t-shirt, which is a $35 value for your $36, and then for $1 more, you get access to our diehard Discord, as well as so many other benefits of becoming a diehard here at PHNX Sports. We're trying to grow our diehard, total here, Kevin. I know that the Wildcats diehards are, I might just put this out there. I don't know this for a fact, but I'm just going to guess, might be our lowest diehard total that we got here at PHNX Sports. I think we have more diehards of every other team. So Kevin and I got some work to do. We got to start building this thing up, growing this community, because we love talking with you guys. We love hanging out with you guys. Definitely not lowest in terms of numbers on the channel and the support, but we need some higher diehard numbers so that we're not just talking into the void to ourselves, doing our text conversations, Kevin, in our Discord. But
I will say this.
Yeah.
It might be small, but it's mighty. The hoop conversations in the Discord have been on point lately. I do want to give a special shout out to 3DMK, who I don't think is in the live chat today. Maybe they are and just lurking. Maybe they're busy working, whatever. Busy people watch our show. But 3DMK has been bringing the conversation into the Discord, and it's high-level hoops talk. So join our Discord, talk hoops, talk Wildcats, talk literally whatever. I'm in there like talking about literally anything, like the movie I just watched or whatever.
Well, we got channels for that as well. There's channels for everything that your heart could desire. I was about to say 10 Toes Down. We got an MMA channel. We got betting channels. We got just a regular hangout if you want to send some movie stuff in there. I think we might even have a movie channel. We do. So if you want to use it as just a way to, be able to chat with some friends, you can all, of course, do that as well. But yeah, it's so much fun. Like I said, just for $1 more than just buying that t-shirt outright, you could become a diehard, and it's well worth it, guys. But appreciate everybody for watching this episode. We'll be back, like I said, for pregame and postgame tomorrow of Arizona, Kansas. But in the meantime, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll catch you on tomorrow's programming. Until then, peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. Did you just turn off the AC in here?
We all silly like the mayor.